The truth that will not change whether you are 20 years old or 70. Wealth is not an accident. It is not the result of luck or chance or being in the right place at the right time. Wealth, true wealth, is the product of law. It follows patterns. It follows cause and effect, and it can be achieved by anyone who is willing to follow the rules. That's what this message is about. You see, during the course of my life, from a boy raised during the Great Depression to a man who built success in radio, in business, and education, I came to understand that the path to wealth is surprisingly simple. Not easy, but simple. And it's available to every man or woman willing to be disciplined, consistent, and deliberate. The challenge is not in the knowledge. It's in the application. Because the rules you're about to learn are not new. They are not trendy. They do not depend on market conditions or political climates. They've been around for generations. But very few people ever commit to them long enough to see them work. And that's where you come in. My hope is that by the time you finish these 7 principles, you will not only understand what builds wealth, you'll begin living in a way that attracts it. Not tomorrow, not when conditions are perfect, but today, right now, wherever you are, with whatever you have, because wealth is not built one day. It is built daily. Now let's address something many people believe, that money is complicated and financial freedom is for the privileged few. But that isn't true. Most people never become wealthy, not because they weren't capable, but because they never learned the basic rules, or they learned them and didn't apply them consistently. I've studied success for most of my life. I've read hundreds of books. I've spoken to thousands of people. I've studied the behavior of men and these 7 are the ones that shaped my financial life. They are the rules I followed when I had nothing, and they are the rules I continued to follow as I built wealth. They do not depend on trends. They do not rely on others. They are based on principles that will always be true in any generation. You may already know some of them. But knowledge, as I've said many times, is not power. Only applied knowledge is power. Knowing is not enough. You must do. And when you do, consistently and patiently, you begin to experience what most people only dream about: control over your time, your choices, and your future. Before we dive into the first rule, let me also say this. It's never too late. It's never too early. You can begin right now, exactly where you are. Whether you're a young person just entering the world of work, or someone older who has made mistakes and wants to start over, these rules will work for you, but they will only work if you make them yours. That means living by them, that means honoring them, that means treating them as non-negotiable. They will ask for your discipline. They will ask for your patience. They will require that you let go of some habits that have kept you poor mentally and financially. But in return, they will give you something greater than wealth. They will give you freedom. And freedom is the ultimate goal. Freedom to do work you believe in. Freedom to spend time with those you love. Freedom to give, to serve, to grow. Freedom from fear, from survival, from regret. That's what this is all about. Not money for its own sake, but money as a tool, a servant, something that works for you instead of the other way around. And once you begin to treat it with the seriousness it deserves, it will begin to show up for you in ways you've never imagined. You may not feel wealthy now. That's okay. The purpose of these rules is not to change your life overnight. It is to change the way you live so that your life becomes wealthy by design. You may say, "But I've made mistakes." We all have. You may say, "But I don't have much to start with." That's why we start with rules, not riches. If you follow these 7, they will do more than help you earn more. They will teach you how to keep what you earn, how to multiply it, how to live in a way where your money finally begins working for you and not the other way around. And here's one final thought before we begin. Most people live their entire lives managing survival. But survival is not the goal. Freedom is, and freedom requires structure. It requires principles. It requires rules. These are the 7 that changed my life. Let them change yours. The first rule of wealth, and perhaps the most powerful one, is this: pay yourself first. It sounds simple, and yet most people never do it. They work, they earn, and they immediately begin distributing that income to everyone but themselves. Let me be clear. The man who does not learn to keep a portion of every dollar he earns will never become financially free. Because wealth is not built by income alone, it is built by habit. And the most important financial habit you will ever form is the one that turns part of your income into permanent savings before you spend a single cent. Now, when I say pay yourself first, I don't mean treat yourself to something you want. I don't mean spend money on clothes or luxuries. I mean take a percentage of what you earn and put it aside, never to be touched, until it can be invested, multiplied, or used with purpose. This rule is so powerful because it does not require wealth to begin. You can start it today, even if your income is modest, even if you're young, even if you're behind. Because what matters is not how much you save, but that you do it consistently. Start with 10%. If you earn $1,000, save $100. If you earn $10,000, save $1,000. Build the muscle. Let it become automatic. Build your life around the remaining 90%, and soon you will discover something remarkable. The man who learns to live on less than he earns freedom. Because what is financial freedom? It is not about how much you make. It is about how long you could live if the income stopped. And if you've saved nothing, if you've paid everyone but yourself, the answer is clear. You are not free. But if you follow this rule, your savings will grow. Slowly at first, quietly, but then it begins to compound. Your confidence increases, your sense of control returns. You no longer fear unexpected expenses. You no longer live from paycheck to paycheck. You begin to see that your money is not just for survival, it is a tool, a servant that must work for you. That is a shift in identity. Most men work for money, but the man who saves consistently, who keeps a portion of all he earns, begins to have money work for him. And over time, that habit becomes the seed of every future investment, every opportunity, every moment where money is no longer a stress, but a source of leverage. Now, some will resist this rule. They'll say, "But I can't afford to save." And to that I say, you can't afford not to. If your expenses rise to match every increase in income, you will never escape the cycle. You will work harder, you may even earn more, but you will still be stuck. Because income does not equal wealth, retention does. You must become the kind of man who always keeps part of what he earns, not just once, not just when it's convenient, but as a principle, a standard, a rule as fixed as gravity. And here's the truth. If you cannot save when you make a little, you won't save when you make a lot. Saving is not a matter of amount, it's a matter of discipline. It is a form of self-respect. It is a declaration that your future matters more than your impulse. You want to be wealthy? Begin with this. Keep a part of all you earn. If you're earning now, start today. If you've never done this before, make it your first move. Automate it if you must. Set up a system where the savings happen before you see the spending money. Make it invisible, but make it non-negotiable. And once you've done that, protect it. Don't touch it for quick fixes. Don't raid it for emotional purchases. Let it grow. Let it become your reserve, your foundation, your proof to yourself that you can delay gratification and win because of it. Let me leave you with this. The man who pays himself first becomes powerful not because of the number in his account, but because of the discipline behind it. He becomes steady, confident, and most importantly, free. Because every great fortune began with this single principle. And you don't need a fortune to begin. Just the discipline to start. Rule 2. To live on less than you earn. If Rule 1 is to pay yourself first, Rule 1-2 is to build your entire financial life around a principle that most people break before they've even begun. Spend less than you make. Every time, without exception. It may sound simple, and it is, but that's what makes it powerful. You see, the majority of people, regardless of income level, live at or above their means. When they earn more, they spend more. When they receive a raise, they upgrade their lifestyle. New car, bigger house, more entertainment, more obligations. They spend in a way that assumes the income will always be there. But when you build your life on assumptions instead of discipline, you're always at risk. One lost job, one medical bill, one bad month, and the entire house of cards collapses. That's why the second rule is non-negotiable. Always live below your means. This rule is how freedom is preserved. It's how wealth is maintained. It's how peace is built, even in uncertain times. Because when you live below your means, you begin to operate from a place of margin, not desperation. You're not living paycheck to paycheck. You're not wondering how to cover emergencies. You're not enslaved to credit cards or loans just to maintain appearances. Now here's the critical insight. This rule doesn't just apply when times are tight. It applies especially when income is good. Because that's when people let their guard down. That's when new money becomes no money. That's when discipline is tested. And that's when this rule becomes your greatest financial defense. If you commit to living on less than you earn and never allowing lifestyle to outpace income, you create a gap. That gap, the space between what you make and what you spend, becomes the breeding ground for all future wealth. That's where you build your savings. That's where you invest. That's where you gain breathing room to take risks. That's where you purchase time, the most valuable asset of all. Let's make this practical. Let's say you earn $4,000, 0 cents a month. After paying yourself first, setting aside 10%, let live with $3,600, 0 cents. Most people will spend $3,600, 0 cents or more. But the disciplined man does. He builds his life around $3,200, 0 cents, maybe less. He simplifies, he makes intelligent trade-offs, he tracks where his money goes, and instead of asking, how much can I spend, he begins asking, how much margin can I build? This doesn't mean you live like a miser, it means you live like a leader. You're not reactive with money, you're intentional. You're not trying to look rich, you're trying to be free. Now let's address the resistance. But I want to enjoy my life. So do I. But tell me, is it truly enjoyment if it leaves you stressed, in debt, behind on bills, and scrambling when something goes wrong? Or is enjoyment something that is earned by creating a life where your finances support your peace, not threaten it? Living below your means is not about deprivation, it's about discipline. It's about saying no to excess today so that you can say yes to opportunity tomorrow. Because opportunity is expensive, and it always comes to those who are ready, not those who are hoping. The man who lives below his means becomes ready. He's ready for investments when others are struggling. He's ready for emergencies when others are panicking. He's ready to walk away from situations that compromise his values because he's not dependent on every paycheck. That's real power. That's what this rule gives you. Now here's the truth most won't tell you. Income is only part of the equation. What matters more is how much you keep. Two men can make the same amount. One is broke, the other is building freedom. The difference? This rule. So ask yourself honestly, what percentage of your income do you keep? Where are the leaks? Where does lifestyle bloat steal from your future? And more importantly, start small. Cut what doesn't serve you. Simplify where you've overcomplicated. Challenge every expense. Build your life around necessity and purpose, not status and impulse. And the results? They compound. A few $100s left over each month becomes thousands in a year. That becomes capital. That becomes investment. That becomes leverage. And leverage is how wealth is built, not through windfalls, but through consistent, disciplined margin. Remember, this isn't about restriction. It's about direction. It's about telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Because when you live on less than you earn, not once, but always, you gain control. Control of your decisions. Control of your time. Control of your future. And a man with control, he's already wealthier than most. Rule 3, understand the power of compound interest, and make it work for you. If you were to ask me which force in the financial universe separates the rich from the poor, the patient from the panicked, the wise from the reactive, I would say this: compound interest. It is the quiet engine behind every fortune. It is the reward for those who start early, stay steady, and refuse to interrupt the process. And yet most never learn to use it. They underestimate it. They interrupt it. Or worse, they work against it, paying compound interest instead of earning it. Let's begin with a simple truth. Compound interest is the process by which your money begins to work for you instead of you working for it. It is interest on top of interest. It is growth that builds not in a straight line, but in a curve. Slow at first, then shockingly fast. It is, as Albert Einstein is often credited with saying, the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Let's take a simple example. Suppose you begin with $1,000, 0 cents, and add $100, 0 cents every month, earning 10% annually. In the first year, your growth is modest, a few dollars here, a few there. But by year 10, you're seeing momentum. By year 30, you're not adding to it, it's adding itself. That's the power of time. And that's the tragedy of delay. Because every year you wait, you rob yourself of the curve. Most people never reach the curve. They start and stop. They invest, then pull out. They build, then borrow. They treat savings as a temporary holding zone instead of sacred ground. But the men who build wealth understand the greatest gains don't come from what you earn. They come from what you leave untouched long enough for the process to take over. They don't interrupt their investments. They protect them. They don't treat compound interest as a theory. They treat it as a partner, one that gets stronger the longer you respect it. Let's get even more practical. Every dollar you save and invest today, wisely, patiently, and consistently, will be worth many times more than a dollar you try to save later. Why? Because compound interest doesn't reward urgency. It rewards time in the market. Not timing the market, but staying in the market. That's the difference between gamblers and builders. Gamblers try to get rich quick. They chase the hot stock, the overnight return, the shortcut, and often they end up right where they started, or worse. Builders are different. Builders understand that slow is smooth, and smooth becomes fast. They understand that the man who lets compound interest work over decades is playing a game that most never have the patience to play. And that patience, it is rare, but it is rewarded. So how do you apply this rule? Start now. No matter your age, no matter your income, begin investing a portion of what you save, even if it's small, especially if it's small, because the earlier you begin, the greater your curve. It's not about the amount, it's about the habit. Automate it. Choose low-cost, long-term vehicles that reward consistency. Focus on building a machine that doesn't require your constant attention, only your ongoing commitment. And once it's running, protect it. Don't pull from it for vacations. Don't tap into it for impulse purchases. Let it compound. Let it do what it was designed to do. Now here's the shift. Most people think in days and weeks. The wealthy think in decades. They think in curves. They understand that wealth does not grow linearly. It grows exponentially. But only for those who stay in the game. So train yourself to think long. Not just about money, but about time. See your future self not as a stranger, but as someone you owe, and every dollar you invest today is a gift to that man. You may not feel it now, but he will thank you later, with freedom, with peace, with options. Because compound interest doesn't just grow wealth, it grows possibility. And possibility, that is the true reward. Let me end this rule with one of the most important distinctions I ever learned. People who don't understand compound interest think saving is about cutting back. But those who understand it know saving is about building forward. It's not about lack, it's about leverage. So follow this rule with urgency. Start now. Stay steady. Think in decades. And never interrupt the curve. Because time, when paired with compound interest, is the greatest wealth-building force you will ever know. And if you begin today, it will quietly change every tomorrow. Rule 4, guard your earning power. It's your greatest asset. Let me share with you a principle that I believe has been lost on many. Your ability to earn is the foundation of your financial life. Not the stocks you buy, not the business you build, not even the money you save. All of those are results. But earning power, that's the engine. It's your capacity to bring value into the marketplace, and that capacity must be protected, refined, and multiplied, because without it, you become dependent. Dependent on luck, dependent on others, dependent on systems outside of your control. Now, what do I mean by guard your earning power? I mean treat your skills, your knowledge, your health, your ability to produce, to serve, to solve problems as the assets they truly are. You see, we insure our homes, we insure our cars, but how many people insure their ability to earn by continuing to grow, to learn, to sharpen their edge? That's what wealthy individuals do. They don't sit still. They don't let time dull their relevance. They invest in themselves, because they know the more valuable they become, the more income they can command. And that income, that's the raw material from which every other rule flows. Remember Rule 1, pay yourself first. Rule 2, live on less than you earn. Rule 3, compound what you save. But none of those work without Rule 4. Because if your earning power declines, your financial structure crumbles. So the wise man, the man who seeks financial freedom, becomes a student of value. He studies his craft. He keeps up with changing tools and systems. He guards his reputation. He cultivates relationships. He improves his health, knowing that stamina and clarity are part of wealth. He understands that everything he consumes, what he reads, watches, practices, surrounds himself with, is either sharpening or dulling his earning capacity. Now let me speak plainly. Let people become complacent. They get comfortable in a job, in a skill set, in a routine. And slowly, without realizing it, they stop growing. Their earning power plateaus. And then one day the market shifts, and they're caught unprepared trying to solve a crisis that began years ago when they stopped evolving. Do not make that mistake. Treat your mind like the most valuable asset you own. Feed it daily. Learn constantly. Invest in skills that are relevant, skills that solve problems, that serve people, that scale. Let me give you a practical example. Suppose you earn $60,000, 0 cents a year. If you increase your value just enough to earn $70,000, 0 cents, and you keep your lifestyle the same, you've just created an extra $10,000, 0 cents in margin, year after year, without cutting anything, without debt, just by upgrading your earning. Now imagine doing that again, and again. Suddenly, you're not just saving, you're saving with momentum. You're investing with amplified income. Your whole system accelerates, not because you worked harder, but because you became worth more. And that is a choice. It's a choice to read while others scroll. It's a choice to practice when others relax. It's a choice to seek mentorship instead of comfort. The men who win, they don't wait for income to rise. They earn the rise by raising themselves first. Now let's address something many people get wrong. They chase money, thinking it's the goal. But money is not the goal. Value is. Because when you focus on value, money follows. You don't get paid for time. You get paid for the value you bring in that time. And when you understand that, really understand it, you begin to make different decisions. You stop asking, what job pays the most? And start asking, what problem can I solve best? Because money flows to problems, and the man who can solve problems, big, painful, important ones, will never be without opportunity. So guard your earning power by becoming the man who gets things done, who stays relevant, who doesn't wait to be told what to do, because he's already 2 steps ahead. And here's the real secret. When you focus on value, your income becomes limitless. You're no longer capped by salary bands, by market rates, by external ceilings. You become a producer, a generator, and producers always get paid. So make it a rule. Invest more in yourself than you do in distractions. If you spend money on entertainment, spend more on education. If you spend time on leisure, spend more time on learning how to multiply your worth. Because one day your investments will compound, your savings will grow, your opportunities will appear. But none of it happens without the fuel of earning power. And earning power is not static. It is either growing or shrinking. Make sure yours is growing. Not by chance. By design. Rule 5. Avoid debt that doesn't make you money. Debt, for many, is a prison. Quiet, invisible, but real. It doesn't chain your hands or your feet, it changes your future. It takes your tomorrow and spends it today. And in doing so, it robs you of freedom, momentum, and peace of mind. But not all debt is created equal. You see, wealth isn't built by avoiding debt altogether. It's built by understanding the difference between debt that builds wealth and debt that drains it. Between debt that multiplies your earning power and debt that enslaves your income. This is the principle: never take on debt unless it helps you make more than it cost. That's it. That one rule could save most people years of financial frustration. Let me break it down plainly. There is productive debt, such as borrowing to acquire an income-producing asset, a rental property that cash flows, a business loan that multiplies revenue, an education that directly increases your earning potential, and I emphasize directly. This kind of debt, used wisely and responsibly, can act as leverage. It can be a tool. But most people don't use debt this way. They use it to consume. They use it to buy what they haven't earned, to live beyond their means, to impress people who aren't watching, to escape the discomfort of patience. Then they wonder why freedom never arrives. They drive a car that owns them. They live in homes that hollow out their future. They use credit cards like parachutes, jumping without any plan for the landing. And slowly, inch by inch, their life becomes owed to someone else. Debt is not just a financial burden, it is a psychological one. It whispers constantly. It adds weight to every decision. It reduces your options. It steals your sleep. It forces you to make choices based on obligation rather than opportunity. That is why this rule is so vital. Because when you eliminate bad debt and commit to using debt only when it generates more income than it cost, you reclaim your power. Let's get specific. If a debt purchase doesn't bring you a return in cash flow, in equity, or in enhanced ability to earn, you do not need it. If it's something you can't pay off quickly, or worse, something you wouldn't buy in cash if you could, you shouldn't finance it with credit. You see, every debt payment is a decision about who your money is working for. Is it working for you, or is it working for the lender? And every dollar that goes toward interest on consumer debt is a dollar you no longer control. It's a dollar that could have gone to savings, to investment, to leverage, to freedom. Now some will argue, but debt allows me to enjoy life today. And yes, it does, briefly. Until the bill comes. Until the payment hangs over you like a shadow. Until the stress of owing multiplies and the pleasure fades. Because the truth is, the kind of joy built on debt is always temporary. The real joy, the lasting kind, comes from knowing you're free, from knowing you owe nothing to anyone, from knowing that every dollar you earn is yours to use, invest, and give. So let's talk about how to apply this rule in your life. First, take a full inventory of your current debts. Know what you owe, to whom, at what interest rate. Get honest. No more hiding, no more ignoring. Second, create a plan to pay off every piece of debt that does not produce income. Start with the smallest if you need momentum, or start with the highest interest rate if you want efficiency. Just start, aggressively, consistently. Third, freeze all unnecessary borrowing. Cut up the cards if you must. Cancel the accounts. Build your lifestyle on cash, not credit. Learn to wait, learn to earn, learn to deserve what you own. Because here's what happens when you do. Your savings accelerate. Your stress drops. Your freedom grows. You begin to build on rock instead of sand. And as your margin increases, as your income is no longer bled dry by payments and interest, you gain something more valuable than status. You gain options. Options to invest. Options to pitch. Options to say no. And that, my friend, is the core of wealth. The ability to choose your future instead of being chained to your past. So follow this rule with discipline. Avoid debt that doesn't pay you back. Refuse to carry what drains you. Stop financing a lifestyle you can't yet afford and start building a life you'll never need to escape. Because freedom isn't found in more credit. It's found in more control. And the man with no debt, or only smart debt, is the man who walks lighter, sleeps deeper, and builds wealth faster than the rest. Rule 6, track every dollar. Know where your money goes. If there is one habit that separates the man who is in control of his finances from the one who constantly feels behind, overwhelmed, or uncertain, it is awareness. Financial awareness is not just about earning more. It's about knowing. Knowing where your money comes from. Knowing where it goes. Knowing what it builds or what it destroys. That is why rule number 6 is so vital. Track every dollar. Not occasionally, not when you feel like it, not only when things go wrong, but consistently, meticulously, always. You see, most people drift through their financial life in a fog. They know their salary, they know their rent, maybe they check their bank balance now and then, but ask them where the rest of the money goes, and they'll say, "I'm not sure." They say it just disappeared. But money does not disappear, it moves. You just weren't watching. And when you're not watching your money starts to disappear into habits, fees, subscriptions, conveniences, indulgences. One decision at a time. $10 here, $40 there. No big deal, right? Until you look up and realize you've been working for decades with nothing left to show. That's what happens to the man who refuses to track. But the man who watches his money, he is dangerous. Because he doesn't just earn, he commands. He knows exactly what comes in, what goes out, and why. He sees patterns, he makes corrections, he creates intention. He is not afraid to look at the numbers because he understands the numbers are feedback, not judgment. Let me say that again. The numbers are feedback. They're information, and they are your friend if you're willing to use them. Now, this rule doesn't require complicated systems. It doesn't require advanced software or hours of your time. It requires one thing: attention. That's it. Just like a good captain checks the map and adjusts course, the man who wants to build wealth checks his finances and adjusts decisions, regularly, relentlessly, with humility and clarity. You may say, "But I'm not a numbers person." You don't need to be. You just need to be a responsibility person. You're not tracking for fun, you're tracking for freedom. Because when you know where your money is going, you start to take your life back. You start to notice the little leaks, the lunches that add up, the unused subscriptions, the emotional purchases. You see where your money is serving you and where it's sabotaging you. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. That's the beginning of power. Now let's talk implementation. Start today. Sit down and write out your income sources, every stream. Then list your fixed expenses, rent, mortgage, utilities, minimum debt payments. Next, your variable expenses, groceries, gas, entertainment. Finally, your invisible spending, the auto charges, the things you don't notice until the statement arrives. Add it all up. Compare it to your income. And don't flinch. Because the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, is the starting point of change. Now, do this monthly. Set a time, block it off. Treat it as seriously as a business owner would treat reviewing a profit and loss sheet. Because you are a business, your time, your energy, your money, all part of your personal economy. If you want that economy to grow, you must run it like it matters. Because it does. And the best part? Tracking creates awareness. Awareness creates accountability. Accountability creates better decisions. And better decisions compound into wealth. It starts with watching. And over time, you will begin to feel something rare, financial confidence, not because you're rich, but because you know exactly where you stand. That peace of mind, it's priceless. You stop living in anxiety, you stop reacting, you stop guessing. You begin to lead your money instead of being led by it. And here's what's incredible. Most people will never do this. They'll tell you it's too boring, too tedious, too restrictive. But ask them how much they spent last month and they won't know. Ask them how much they saved. They'll hesitate. Ask them where their future is headed and they'll change the subject. Don't be like most people. Be the exception. Be the man who watches. Be the man who knows. Be the man whose wealth is intentional, not accidental. Because tracking isn't about being cheap. It's about being in charge. And if you'll follow this rule, if you'll pay attention, you'll discover that financial clarity isn't just helpful, it's liberating. Because when you track every dollar, you begin to master every decision. And mastery, that's where wealth begins. Rule 7. Give generously, but only after you've built stability. There is a paradox in the pursuit of wealth that many people struggle to understand. We are told to give, to be generous, to help others. And that principle is right, deeply right. Generosity is a force multiplier. It is a reflection of gratitude. It is the mark of someone who lives beyond scarcity. But here is the truth most people miss. You cannot give freely if you have nothing to give. And giving out of lack is not generosity, it is financial self-sabotage. So Rule 7 is this: give generously, but only from strength, never from weakness. Before you can serve the world, you must stabilize your own life. Before you can write big checks, you must balance your budget. Before you can build others, you must build a foundation beneath your own feet. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot lift others while drowning in your own debt. You cannot be the light if your power is constantly being shut off. That is why this rule comes last. Not because it is less important, but because it requires the other 6. Once you've paid yourself first, once you've lived beneath your means, once you've harnessed the power of compound interest, once you've protected your earning power, once you've eliminated toxic debt, once you've tracked every dollar and brought order to your finances, then, and only then, do you unlock the greatest privilege of wealth, to give. To give to your family, to your church, to your community, to causes you believe in, to people who could never repay you, and who never need to. But here's the difference. Your giving doesn't come from guilt. It doesn't come from obligation. It doesn't come from emotion. It comes from overload. It is intentional. It is joyful. It is sustainable. And when you give from that place, from strength, from stability, from surplus, something shifts. Your giving multiplies. It inspires. It creates ripple effects far beyond what any single transaction could show on paper. You become a man who doesn't just build wealth. You become a man who redirects it toward purpose. And that is the mark of a life well lived. Now let me be clear. Giving doesn't always mean money. You can give time, you can give wisdom, you can give attention, mentorship, encouragement. But the principle remains: give from a full cup. Protect your foundation first. Then, extend your reach. That's not selfish. That's sustainable. And here's why this rule matters. Because money is never just about the numbers. It's about what those numbers allow you to become. Wealth is not just a bank statement, it's a state of mind. It's a condition of readiness. It's a tool for magnifying character. And once your foundation is solid, your savings consistent, your income secured, your mind disciplined, you can move into a new phase of life. A phase where you're no longer thinking about survival, you're thinking about significance. And significance is fueled by generosity. So live this seventh rule with intention. Give, but give from wisdom. Don't let people pressure you into financial decisions you haven't earned the right to make. Don't give what should have been invested, don't donate what should have been saved, and never sacrifice your foundation for appearances. Instead, become the kind of man who builds such a stable and successful life that giving becomes natural, joyful, and fruitful. Because that's the final goal of wealth. Not just to enjoy it, but to use it well. Now let's recap briefly the 7 rules that changed my life and can change yours. Pay yourself first. Make saving your first expense. Always. Live on less than you earn. Never let lifestyle outpace income. Use compound interest. Start early. Stay consistent. Let it grow. Protect your earning power. Stay sharp, healthy, and valuable. Avoid bad debt. If it doesn't make you money, don't carry it. Track every dollar. Know where your money goes, always. Give from strength. Be generous, but build your foundation first. If you take these rules seriously, if you make them habits instead of theories, if you embed them into your routine, your thinking, your decisions, then wealth will come. Not as a windfall, not as a surprise, but as a byproduct of discipline. And when it does, you'll look back and realize something powerful. It wasn't the world that changed. It was you. You became the kind of person who could handle wealth, who could multiply it, who could use it with purpose and principle. And that, my friend, is the highest achievement of all. So, whether you're starting late or early, whether you're earning little or earning well, whether you've failed before or never tried at all, today is the perfect time to begin. Start with Rule 1. Build momentum, stack discipline, and when the results come, and they will, live by Rule 7. Because the greatest reward of money isn't what it lets you buy, it's what it lets you be.